Hi there, I'm having a virtual cuppa with Austin Payne, Director at Convergecom, who are a wholesale and retail telephony as a service seller. How's it going, Austin?
Good, Simon. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Thanks for agreeing to have a virtual cuppa with me today. Look, Austin, the purpose of the virtual cuppa series is to get different perspectives on what's happening out there in the world because of COVID and how it's affecting businesses and how people with different perspectives and different access to information sort of see things going. Obviously, you deal with a lot of businesses looking at their telephony, their VoIP software, that kind of stuff. What sort of trends are you seeing out in the market? What sort of questions are you getting asked a lot?
Yep, I suppose the biggest one at the moment, as you know, is everyone's working from home, and it's more like, how can we work from home? How can we communicate when we're working from home? You know, basically to keep business that was usually in an office, but working remotely. And that comes down to just like receiving calls, making calls, collaborating with customers, that sort of thing. But also monitoring their staff and how they can monitor their staff and keep in touch with their staff while working remotely as well.
Well, I mean, like obviously coming out of and going into this was, the world pretty much went virtual in a matter of days, which is a massive achievement on a global scale. But as we've been through that now, we're sort of a few months in, what are the sort of trends you're seeing now as businesses are getting more used to it, or maybe realizing that it's becoming a more permanent thing than maybe they first thought?
Yeah, I found a lot of businesses, and this pretty much goes everyone I speak to, is the ability that we can work from home. I think there was a bit of some people wanted to, some people didn't. And the thing is now that people know that we can, and it's not a bad thing. It's actually a better thing, and it works. It's a better work-life balance as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies, staff going, well, they're doing a mixture. Some will come in some days, some come in, work from home other days. And I think people are really just put importance on that work-life balance, being able to, spend a bit more time with their kids at home or their family at home, and just make it a bit more flexible. I think that's the biggest trend.
Yeah. And how does that impact businesses' kind of technology choices?
I think a lot of businesses, when they first went in, a lot of people were caught unaware. I think there was probably about 40% who were already prepared for it and could do it easily. But the ones who got caught is sort of like an ad hoc sort of solution. And now, because of that, and now it's a bit more long-term, they're looking at solutions that can sort of fit that long-term structure in that as well. And that's where they're looking at things like, software as a service, telephony as a service. I think people have used things like Zoom and that a lot better, a lot of free services, but now people are looking for something a bit more robust that can sort of package into what their company does.
Yeah. What, in terms of obviously you have a lot of access to information and research and product information that maybe people who aren't sort of ingrained in that world get access to. What sort of research are you seeing? What sort of new products or technology that you're seeing that's sort of coming to the fore that maybe wasn't around before?
Yeah, I think a lot of people want things how they can collaborate quite easily, like things like Slack. It's more just an easy thing rather than emailing backwards and forwards. It makes it easy. It's a bit like a meeting room where everyone can sort of collaborate and chat that way. I find integration is a big point as well, where people just want, if you're using a CRM, you want to be able to track everything from like a single source. So a lot of phones, they can click to dial, but it can keep all their calls, their call recording, things like that. I think that's what people are sort of looking at and doing research that way. But also researching, they've got all these different things, like they might use video for one thing, voice for another, a CRM for another, using one bit of software, which can sort of link everything together. Yeah.
I think from chatting to my clients, and I think one of the things that it did catch people off guard with is management. I mean, a lot of people I know who are managers, or maybe less experienced, or even more experienced managers, have really struggled with the sort of lack of visibility on what their people are doing. And we've had a lot of people talking about, well, how do you monitor what people do? And there's talk of sort of software where you can monitor every click and every keyboard stroke and all that sort of stuff, which sounds quite like 1984. And what are you seeing companies becoming more looking for software more that can monitor what's happening?
Like a big brother approach.
Yeah.
I find it's probably not more Big Brother, because I think you can waste a lot of time doing that. But we do, so for example, a lot of call centres where I find people who weren't traditionally call centres are now monitoring their staff, mainly with call volume, because we deal a lot with the telco space, is they're monitoring, you know, how many calls they make and setting KPIs and measuring people that way. I find traditionally where people hadn't used that are now going, well, because I want to monitor my people from home, now they can see how many calls they make. They can see their average call time, work time. But they're also using other tools like collaboration tools. We use one called Traction Tools, for example, where you set targets and KPIs and measurements, and people can do that without having to follow them up each time. And it's like an active screen, I guess you can say.
Yeah, okay. Which one's that?
That was Traction Tools.
Okay.
So the EOS product that we did with our company as an example, and people using similar suites to that where you can set what your targets are for the week, for the day, and things like that as well. So it actively measures and people can see what they're doing from a management point of view.
Yeah, but without some micromanaging.
Without micromanaging, you don't have to call at the end of the day, what are you doing every day? It's basically, it's like a dashboard. And when someone finishes it, you can see that dashboard get ticked off. It's a bit like, you know, you can gamify some things as well. So people have targets and it almost becomes like a competition to naturally make people a bit more productive as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that the biggest levels of anxiety we've seen with people working and with managers as well is that, you know, managers are anxious about what their team are doing. They don't know what they're doing every day. But also, I think people are aware their managers don't know what they're doing and they're getting stressed if they go for a lunch break and, you know, the manager thinks they're not working. And so I think that's definitely the biggest point of anxiety we've seen.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of managers as well. Like it's a bit like, well, how can I tell what they're doing or what they're not doing? I found people are actually more productive and from my experience, get a lot more work done working from home because they sit there after hours doing a little bit more work. They're not when in the office, they tend to switch off. I find they actually do a lot more. And it's about having that give and take as well. Like, you know, if you're at home, sometimes people they go do the washing or do this or they do that. But I find because they're at home, like their lunch breaks are shorter. They're not, you know what I mean, taking as many breaks is what I found. And that's from speaking to a lot of people who found that as well. I think they first had those concerns. It's like, because I'm not watching or managing, what are they going to do? But I think at the end of this, they found they're actually a bit more productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got 6 kids at home today, sat next door. I don't know if you can hear him on here watching damn TDM all day, but I can still work and get on.
Yeah.
If someone's out watching this, they're running a business or a team, and they're reaching that point, I suppose, when they realise that this isn't that sort of 2-week period where you've got to be from home and then we're going straight back to how we were, and maybe we're not going to be completely remote forever, but we're also not going to be completely back in the office.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? What are those sort of immediate things that business can be doing? What are the sort of things they need to be thinking about? Maybe some low-hanging fruit they can implement quickly, or some types of software they need to be thinking about. Okay, well, we should be looking at this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think a big thing was, even before we came in, was cloud or software as a service. So, which is, you know, for example, for us with phones or voice, it's the ability to work anywhere, no matter where you are. And the thing is, you can be in the office, but you don't have to be in the office. And the thing is, it suits both. There's no additional cost to being in the office or remotely. So I think looking at a thing like that, and that's what a lot of people are looking at. A lot of people, like I said, got caught with the system they had and they sort of had to do it ad hoc. So it's, I think, something that fits that suite. So if it does happen again, because, you know, it could turn around in 2 weeks and everyone's caught in the same boat. It's having a solution that's flexible, that allows you to work remotely in the office, but also ticks a few more boxes than just being able to do that. Like having something that does your whole suite of communication or products or management. And I think that's the main thing. It's not just that tick box of working remotely. It's making sure it fits those additional keys that what a lot of people have learned. It's not just working remote. It's like, how can I manage people? How can I make sure they're doing this? How can I have visibility? It's all those things, how I can communicate and having those tick boxes. So I think it's trying to find a solution, even talking to their current provider, seeing what solution they can offer. But also I think it's worthwhile to at least look at 2 other solutions at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we spent a long time looking for solutions that would do phone, sort of integrate sort of phone, video, chat, all in one.
Yeah.
There's some awesome products out there, but we found that there were very few that were strong in all of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it's one thing really important, which a lot of people They have a sales guy, for example, and he goes, oh, do this, and they believe what they say. I think it's a big thing with people now. They can do like a 14-day trial and really road test it and prove it and make sure they're happy with it. And it's making sure they know, because every system, like I've done lots of different systems, probably about 8 different products, and they all have their idiosyncrasies in the way they work. And it may suit some companies and may not suit others. So it's just what suits your workspace and sort of how you work as a company.
Yeah.
Really important as well.
I think a lot of them oversell as well, particularly with the the sudden emergence of video as a critical business tool, whereas before it was sort of nice to have. You get a lot of products out there that say, oh, you can fit 100 people on video at one time, and the whole thing just crashes as soon as you get more than 3 people on there. It's looking at your own infrastructure as well, isn't it? I mean, there's so many different factors that.
Oh, definitely, but it's also looking at, like that example there, 100 people on video. Who wants 100 people on video? Like, for me, if you have a voice conference call, even with like 8 people, it can get a bit annoying. I know I've done demos with 50 people before. Do you realistically want that? I don't think you do. I think, 3 or 5, it's nice to have a video chat and that sort of call, but it's knowing the space and how often you're going to do it. A bit like you say, that nice to have or need to have, and sort of weighing that up as well. People get sold the bigger picture, this big picture, but do you really need that as well? And it's making sure you can manage that.
Yeah. Yeah, we found, there was the ones where you could fit 50 people on video, but the phone was a bit unreliable. So we went with the solution of sort of, you could fit 12 people on and it worked well, but the phone was pretty robust, because the phone obviously is our lifeline.
Yeah, I think an important one, like some of the companies, like I know even Microsoft, like the data centers in Singapore, or it might be set up in the States. With Australia, are a bit unique. So it's trying to find a product that's got a base here, or got a software center or a data center they use locally here as well. Because those things, even like you say, you can have 100, go up to 100 people, but you can get 10 on and it can just fall over. So I think it's just making sure you test that reliability, making sure people have NBN as well, and knowing what the shortfalls if they don't have proper NBN or working. That's not always the product at fault. But I think really road testing, it's a really important thing to make sure it's going to be a right fit before going ahead with anything.
Yeah, I think that's probably the other big trend we've seen, or the big limiter to the working from home thing is, as a business, you all have to worry about your own infrastructure, your own network, your own internet. And now all of a sudden you've got to worry about the infrastructure in every single employee's home as well, haven't you? I mean, if you got people on dial-up and some on NBN, it's just not going to work, is it?
Definitely not. But the good thing is there's quite a lot of tools now. Like one of the tools we use it's like a VoIP tester. So it's quite easily, it's a 5-minute test that people can automatically run from home. And it just gives you all the tick boxes to see if it's going to suit from day dot, I guess. I guess there's a lot more on your own infrastructure, a lot more sitting in the cloud. So it's not actually sitting in your office and roadblock there. So I think that is a positive out of it, because it is in the cloud. Most of the data centers, run on that 6 nines, have those massive pipes. You only need a minimum for the remote office, whereas before you had to worry about everything. So I think there's less to worry about as well.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were a business now and you're looking at what would be the immediate sort of the lowest hanging couple of things you could do as a business owner now, looking at making your solution more permanent, what would be the first thing you do, first couple of things you do?
First thing I do is probably making sure if I've got an on-prem system, I try and get it to the cloud. That'd be my first thing, because it just gives you better reliability. Me from a business owner, like everything I've got's in the cloud. We relocated and had to relocate urgently last year, and it just made it easy. Like there was minimal we had to do. So I think if you're not in the cloud, I think that's where I'd move pretty much everything.
Yeah, we had one thing that wasn't. I think we had some old system that needed to still be run. I didn't understand it, but needed to still be run from the office, and had a power thing that kept tripping.
Yeah.
3 days. I had to go into the office every 3 days and reset it. And it was for one application. Is annoying.
Yeah. See, my accounting's in the cloud, my voice is in the cloud, my CRM's in the cloud, my file system. We had a thing where we had to move out quite quickly, and we didn't need to worry about anything. And we had some staff working from home remotely, and this is about a year ago, and it was just seamless. It was pretty easy. And same when COVID hit, we didn't need to change anything. So just that ability. I think that just allows for your flexibility. And it's just making sure yeah, that's probably what I would recommend, especially like if something like this happens again. That one thing can really hamstring you.
Yeah. If you're with a current provider, one of your big telcos, landlines, that kind of stuff, I mean, is it generally quite easy to switch over to cloud? Or if you're in a contract, obviously it depends.
Yeah, I suppose contracts, like anything, I find contracts, a bit more flexible nowadays. I think a lot more people are going to your smaller telcos. I find that in between, the middle telcos are probably better, your sweeter spots. You get a bit more looked after, where the bigger guys, you sort of just become a number unless you've got a huge spend. But it's getting easier to move from one to another nowadays. You're not sort of stuck in. If you're out of contract, it's very easy. It just takes time to move your lines across. But yeah, it all depends on what you've already signed up for. Some people, I think, gone are the days of 5-year contracts, which used to be the play. It's more like your 2 and 3 year contracts now. So they're definitely
yeah. And I suppose if you stay with them, you may even get to switch over with your current provider as well.
Yeah, and it's also speaking to them. I think it's always good to speak to your current provider, go, what can you do for me? But don't get pressured into staying with them. Use that as leverage to go elsewhere. I'm not a big thing in price matching. I think it comes really down to service. My thing is, like, you can either pay for it or you can wait. You know what I mean? So I think you've got to pay for service nowadays, but make sure it's a good service you're getting delivered. I find those middle tier, that they give you a lot better service and value for money as well.
Yeah. Okay, so when you're sort of sat there of an evening, have a glass of red, pondering the world and what's going to happen, what does the other side of this look like to you? What do you see? I suppose both from a sort of technology perspective, but also what are the biggest negatives you think are going to come out of this, and what are the biggest positives that come from COVID?
I think for me, the biggest positive is it's made people value a bit more what's important. Like a lot of staff, even my own staff, like we had to drop them down to a few days just when it got really tight there, and we brought them all back up. And it's a lot of people just like, they see the value in, you don't have to work, and the value of working from home. I think it's made a lot more people, value that. And that's where I see it working is now. Like I know I'm not going to work in the office full time again. I don't think ever. So it's definitely to have that work-life balance and the value of that. And it's not all about money. It's about, your life and your lifestyle as well. And I think we were having a chat before about, you can see the school drop off with the mums, like not everyone's about nails done, hair's done. It's a bit more casual. They can turn up in their Ugg boots. So I think it's the importance of that. You don't need to keep up with the Joneses. It's a lot more value in family and people. And it's, that whole adage of you get to know who your neighbours are again, if you know what I mean. You're not just sitting at home watching Netflix. It's you see the value because you're stuck at home. I think that's really made a big difference. And I hope it stays like that. I hope it's not a negative. I think it's the positive out of the negative, everyone being in the same boat. I think the negative is people can become a lot more isolated and probably get stuck at home and don't get to see people. So for me, I'm an office person. I like to get in the office and have that social mix with people. But I think that's probably the negative side of it. But it's as long as we find that balance between the two, I think it'll stay like this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we had... We were all set up for flexible working. We've been working on towards that for years, and I always say that. I mean, we're very embarrassing. Everyone else in the world managed in 2 days what it took us 3 years to achieve. But,
it's funny when you get pushed, isn't it? Then you're talking about, I don't know if we can do this, don't it? Then you get pushed. And it's like, actually, you know what? We can. I think that was a lot with a lot of people as well.
Yeah,
is done that. Like, how did you find it? Was it similar to that?
Yeah, we took the sort of final step towards it, which was fairly seamless. So we worked a lot towards culture, working on our culture, getting it right for remote working beforehand anyway. So it was a fairly small sort of final step. But what we found was that the people actually started talking about the office more. The office became, when you're remote, having that home became more, when you're working from home, ironically, having a home became more important. So, we started thinking, do we get rid of the office? Do we, which a lot of people are thinking about, but then it's people start saying, I really miss the office. We want to go in. We've got people now going in a few at a time and hanging out there. And, having that sort of central hub where people can come back to when they need to became more and more important, which is quite unexpected, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you on that. It's like we have the same thing in our office. I've noticed it's more like it becomes almost like an event. like, oh, you're going to be in the office this day, and people make an effort to all sort of be there the same day that they can sort of,
yeah,
and they sort of look forward to it as well. I know our meeting days are Wednesday, and everyone's like, even if they're not going in the office, oh, you're going to make sure we get in contact, make sure we have a chat. And it's same thing. Like I don't think we ever talked about getting rid of it, but it sort of highlighted the importance of having that central hub for everyone to meet and catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was quite an interesting thing that came out of it. But yeah, I think everyone's we've seen people have really adapted to it well. Like when we've monitored productivity, and we've got some fairly easy to monitor simple KPIs. We just sort of keep a pulse check on the business, and we haven't seen any drop off at all in productivity. It's probably remained about the same. If anything, it's probably increased by a few percent.
Yeah.
But some people have struggled with it, and other people have absolutely loved it and absolutely smashed it. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting when we can go back and it's sort of, who embraces it, who's rushing back, and who's resisting it. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, I've got a few companies we work with which are essential services, so technically they never shut down. And I had a chat to two of them this week, and they're quite big, about 250 staff, that sort of thing. I sort of asked them, like, how you found it? Are you getting everyone back in, or what are you trying to do? And they're like, no, we're just, same thing, mixing up, having that transition. And I think they've really realised that, I don't think it's ever going to be everyone back in the office, but they've accepted that that's the way it is, and people can work a lot better. And some people it doesn't suit, but I find it's that balance between the two, which is really helping them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think probably the big technology change is going to be, which is pretty much there anyway, but businesses who weren't fully embracing cloud, I think, are going to be very much, there's going to be a very compelling reason not to have all your stuff in the cloud now, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason sort of not to, if you know what I mean. So it's there's some things about making sure it's local and kept local, and you're not offshore and things like that. And I think that's probably an important question to play. But I can't see an argument against it, really.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that had overseas, some big high-profile businesses that had some overseas call centres that just shut down, didn't they? They just no one could get through to for days on end. And
you look at the big three. So if you look at Telstra, Optus, APT, all their call centres are offshore. So you couldn't get anything done. They had to, like Telstra, had to retrain everyone to support. So we wholesale focus, and that's, for me, one of the reasons when we chose a provider, we chose someone who was local. So they're based in North Sydney. It was really important to have someone local, and it sort of validated our reason when this happened as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think there's definitely a trend, I think, in technology as well as a lot of stuff for more local. All right, brilliant. I mean, in terms of outside of technology, I mean, what do you think are going to be there, apart from I suppose the working from home? What are the biggest changes, biggest positives you can see come out of this?
I think for me it's lifestyle. Like, as an example, we just recently moved up the coast, so it's a bit of a sea change for me. So I think that's the positive for me. It's just lifestyle and people's importance on family and friends and hanging out together. So outside technologies, I think the importance of that and getting back to that. That's what I've focused on, and that's what I'm looking forward. It's just, for me, it's like, it's not all work. It's about having that lifestyle change and that balance, and just really focusing on that.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, I think that's a really good point to finish on. Thanks for having a virtual cuppa, Austin. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Simon.
And thanks for your time.
Champion.